Welcome to Your Thoughts, Your Reality with Michael Cole, the podcast that shines a compassionate light on the journey of veterans battling through life's challenges. Michael is a dual elite certified neuroencoding specialist in coaching and keynote training presentations, dedicated to guiding military veterans as they navigate the intricate pathways of post-deployment life. Join him as we delve into the profound realm of neuroencoding science, empowering these brave individuals to conquer universal battles, procrastination, self-doubt, fear, and more. Together, let's uncover the strength within you to re-engage with families and society, forging a new path forward.
Hello, everybody. Listen, we have one of our favorites on here today. We have Brenda Warren, the solutionist, on again. And let me just tell you a little bit about Brenda, and then we'll get rolling. She's a retired Marine Corps Gunnery Sergeant with over 30 years of leadership experience, specializing in self-care, spiritual growth, and cultivating healthy relationships. Three-time best-selling author, creator of the TAPIN Method, which I'm sure we're going to talk about, as we always do. So fantastic. Mindset and self-publishing expert, and dedicated advocate for veterans and, of course, their families. So I'm Brenda. Thank you so much for being on. I mean, we were just yakking before we got on here. So I guess we continue that. Please tell us just a little bit more about yourself for people that haven't seen you on yet.
I think the main thing is to know is I'm the mother of the amazing Alex. That's one of my greatest accomplishments to date. And, my passion for fellow veterans and helping them live their best life now, no opportunity wasted, is something that I'm excited about. So that's why I love coming to your show and having any conversation that relates about veterans. You've already given them the main things, the synopsis. So I think we're good to go. We want to talk about our veterans.
Fantastic. Thank you. And before we get started, everybody, on the top right corner of your screen, I always point the wrong way. There is a blue QR code. Please download that. It takes you to empowerperformancestrategies.com. For people listening in the future, you can go back and listen to other podcasts. There are resources, some books I've written for free for veterans and their families, as well as there's a community there. We have multiple Facebook groups for both veterans and their families and so on. So, please get involved in the mission. Join us and be involved with us. So with that said, let's jump in, shall we?
Okay.
All right. So transitioning from military service, Brenda, often involves significant shifts in identity and purpose, right? I mean, that is one of the main things during that reintegration or transition period. What is the first step a veteran can take, or you took for that matter, to rebuild a thriving family dynamic after service?
Well, Michael, the first step is actually usually the hardest step, and always everything else from there is downhill. And that is having open, honest communication with all the members of the family, because what is often overlooked by the veteran and then sometimes by family members themselves is that all of us served. Everybody in that family served in their own way. And when we can sit down and have an open, honest conversation about what is coming up for transition and acknowledge the fact that we all served in our own way. When mom or dad was out there in deployment, the mom or dad back in the, in the trenches there, making sure kids got to school, bills were still being paid. They were serving in their own way. And the kids who had to put up with all the things of the family separation, mom or dad's anxiety, that has to be acknowledged, and there has to be communication around that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of the I just got chills. You hit something there, right? It's when that reintegration period comes in. Of course, there's always that honeymoon phase of a couple of weeks, right? It's all, oh, I'm home, I love you, all this wonderful things, party celebrations, and it should be. But then, Les Brown says, life be lifing, right? Life kicks in and those kinds of things. And it's so important, as you said, that communication, just slow down and just really have that authentic communication. I think it's so important. So what would you say? Where do you start? You're starting to have stress, anxiety, overwhelm, which everybody has generally in their life, right? To some extent.
Right.
So what are some tools or tricks that maybe, again, you use or you suggest to, your coaching clients or on your amazing podcast or any of those places where do you start? How do you slow it down? How do you ask for help?
That's the part right there. That first, when you take that first step of having that open, honest communication about what roles everybody played in the military, and now we're transitioning into civilian life, which is by all standards is an alien community to military mindset people, family, and the service member, because we're going from structure to the wild, wild west of anything goes. You see, in the military, we know what everybody gets paid. In civilian community, that is taboo. Don't ask what people get paid. None of your business. I learned that the hard way. In the military, our kids are in an environment where we know the neighbor next door is going to have some kind of lookout for them, because they all understand when mom or dad goes in deployment, everybody on the block is now looking out. Moving to the civilian community, they don't care who you are, don't even want to know your name. So that camaraderie is lost. There's a lot of things that are lost. And if you can sit down and begin to now define the roles different, I encourage my people to simply get clear on the new roles. And I really talk to my ladies. I say ladies because being a woman, I can tell you a thing that I did. My ex-husband was a service member as well. But when we were both taking deployments and things, roles shifted. So now I'm running things a certain way, and then he comes back and trying to tell me to do something. I'm like, hold up, partner. You're getting a side eye and probably a few choice a conversation about, look, I need you. Okay, y'all know where I'm going.
Yes, we do.
I'm reminding the women to walk in their full femininity, because they set the tone for their houses, and allow for the anxiety that's coming in their husband, or if it's reversed, how the man would step into that. But allow them to share and be vulnerable without judgment. I know we're probably going to talk about this more, but it's so important for us to sit down and decide who's going to do what going forward.
Yeah,
because everybody gets a leadership role. We learned that in military. You ain't asking the Lance Corporal how to do the gunny's job. So now who's going to be in charge?
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that you talk about that, because literally, and I've had multiple guests on here, and this always does come up. You've grown into different people, whether it's been 2 years or 20 years. Everybody's changed and grown. So it's a lot like empty nest syndrome, right? You're so involved in other things, and all of a sudden everything else is gone, and it's just husband and wife.
Yeah.
And everybody's changed and again grown in different ways. Maybe before the wife or the husband didn't handle the bank account, and now Brenda has a different way of doing it that works for her. So don't come in and just say, hey, no, this is the way it's got to be. Have that open communication and really just slow down, because it's not, I mean, it's the kids. And we're going to have Laura Ollinger on here shortly, who deals with teens and that kind of thing. So it's everybody in that household, like you said.
Yeah.
So slow down. And can I just say, the neuroencoding, celebrate. Take a minute,
absolutely.
pat yourself on the back, shake your ass, dance, turn on some music. When you just have that little conversation, or even think about having that conversation, do that. It releases all these amazing chemicals and hormones in our body that says, your brain says, hey, I want more of that. Where do I find it? And it starts looking for those opportunities. So you're more cognizant of it. And it's really important to pay attention and slow down.
And can I say right here, finances is one of the sure ways to derail a transition if you're not clear on your financial expectations. See, a lot of us live in base housing in the military, so you have your little housing loan there. But when you get out into the civilian community, and maybe the wife or the husband, we'll just say the partner for me, maybe the partner didn't know that when you get in the civilian community, you now pay for water, you pay for electric, you pay for garbage. You're going to, we've had cable bills there, but there are certain things. And if you purchase a home, there are certain insurances, there are maintenance costs, there are things that you never worried about when we were in the military, because it was all taken care of for us. Yeah. We have to have a clear budget and a clear plan for where we're going to. And that's all why it's important. And hopefully, as a couple, they've determined their money management style together even before they got to this. And if they haven't, I suggest you take a class on that. Because if you have one person that has champagne budget and the other one's a hot dog budget, baby, that's a recipe for disaster if y'all don't get that in place. We had that problem because the ex was not a money manager, and I was like, I could, you take a penny out of my pocket, it was gonna have on shades. Okay, I was a saver, but we quickly discovered that was my strength, and I'm happy to say that even as our marriage departed, he was very happy to see that I had made investments for the family that even now he's benefiting from because of the way I handle money. So it's important to have those conversations. It may not be the husband that handles the money, it may be the wife. But if you got a wife that can't pass up a sale, you might want to grow a set and say, baby, you can't handle the money. You can keep her informed about it, but no, she ain't getting a checkbook or a credit card. And I used to counsel my troops on that, because until you all get on the same key of music about money, that's a way to create a financial disaster and end your marriage.
Yeah, absolutely. And what do most couples fight about?
Mm-hmm.
Money.
Money and sex. Money and sex. It's like constant. All the times I would get those conversations, even now with people. Money and sex are the two things people fight. They ain't fighting about the couch in the living room, the color, whatever, but they are fighting about sex and money.
Yeah. And a tool or a tip, sit down, just say, hey, I have something that's really important to me. Can we just talk about something for a couple of minutes? And create that game plan. Write out a budget. Both agree on the budget, right? Have some free spending money, please. Don't just have every penny going towards everything else, because sooner or later that budget's going to get blown by somebody. So be realistic about the budget, and just really that major communication is, like we said, and I know we're talking a lot about it. It's so important.
Because it is communication. Here's a tip everybody should have. Don't have conversations about money and sex in the bedroom. You should create a conversation zone in your house, is what I teach the people I work with. A place where it's safe, a judgment-free zone, and you have to have some rules and stuff to do this, but a place where you go to have a conversation and no one can roll their eyes, suck their teeth, or nothing when you say we need to go to the table, the chair, wherever it is you designated that place. That's where and if you're not ready to go judgment-free, whatever, you say, I'm not ready, give me 30 minutes. We're not talking give me 2 days. Give me 30 minutes is the max, I say, to get your mind in order. And then go have that open, honest communication. Because in my world, your bedroom is a sacred place. And in that sacred place, you don't bring in mess, because that's a place for you to commune, worship each other, love on each other, and be placed. Because there needs to be a sacred place in everybody's home where they can let go of the babies, the bottles, and the bills.
Yeah, amen. I love that. It is super important. So thank you again for talking about that. Let's talk about the TAPIN method a little bit, shall we?
Okay.
All right, because I know we love this one. So, we talk about it every time. So first of all, why don't you tell us what the TAPIN method is again for people who haven't seen you on here before?
The TAPIN method is a method I created to help me move past my step points, and then I was able to help other people do the same. It's 5 letters. TAPIN stands for transformation. That's where you transform your mindset. Announcement and accountability. That's where you announce the results that you're desiring, and you get some accountability about making that happen. The P is for preparation. That's where you prepare for making sure you can actually get those results. And then the I is in the imagination stage. That's where I want you to visualize your life. I want you to dream big and then dream bigger than that. And then in the end, that's the nurturing phase. That's where you do all this stuff after you've done all the 4 steps before, to make sure you can put yourself in maintenance mode and stay tapped into whatever it is you want to do.
Yeah, absolutely love it. And please, anybody that's interested, watch previous episodes where we really dive into the TAPIN method, because it is a fantastic nurturing. It's fantastic. So speaking of nurturing, how does intimacy and connection, right? So how does nurturing, intimacy, and connection play a role helping families heal and grow post-service using the TAPIN method, especially?
I always ask them to, again, using that method, it starts with changing your mindset about how you see your relationship and how you want to move it forward. And some of the tips that I give people to use is to do daily check-ins. Make sure you're checking in. What's going on? I even encourage my families to create report cards for them based on the things they want to see from each other. I ask, are you really filling the love tanks for your kids? And you don't get to decide that. Your kid gets to decide that based on what you both discuss is what it takes to fill a love tank. See, I didn't need roses. But what I did like is that my husband took the trash out and he swept a floor, baby. It was going to be good that night for him. But he brought me some roses. I'm like, that was nice. That ain't it. Because I'm acts of service. Knowing people's love language, that's a time for another show. But the daily check-ins, quality time. We need to put these TVs, iPads, and all this stuff on pause and spend some one-on-one time really paying attention and doing some active listening, which is the next tip I have. What are your kids saying? What is your significant other saying? And sometimes it's not as obvious. It could just be something as simple as, Daddy, I like that cologne you wore today. What that kid just told you is, I like it when you smell like that, not like the road rage you smell like and ruggedness you smell like when you come in and you sit there watching TV and you haven't even taken a shower. So pay attention, active listen, so you really hear what they're not saying. And then
real quick, Brenda, if I can just add into there, and men, and I'm guilty of it too. Stop trying to fix it. They don't want to be fixed.
No.
They're just asking for aggravation in a fight and frustration. And the funny thing is with men and women, right? You know this as well, Brenda, that we try to fix it. That's absolutely not what they want. They just want to be heard. That active listening part, and that's what brought it in there. So just, man, slow down and just listen. Have that love tank open so they can be filled both ways, but just stop and listen. Take 5 minutes in the morning before you head off to work and just make each other feel appreciated.
But see, that's part of the communication too. When we grow up, we often aren't taught that there are ways to approach any conversation. And for you women, I'm going to ask you, please, from the bottom of my heart, I beg you, do not attack your husbands when they walk in the door. Men have just left the world being beat up, being pulled every different direction. Remember, when they come home, they should be entering their safe place. Give them a time to decompress. And then I'm telling you, if you would give your husband 20 to 30 minutes every day when he walked in the door, hey, honey, how you doing? I don't care if the house is on fire. Let him sit down, put his feet up, let him get it together. And then come, well, honey, while you were out, the house caught on fire. And if it is, I put the fire out, you may say before you start the conversation, I don't need you to fix this, sweetie. I just need you to listen. Because sometimes just a little simple thing like that can stop an argument and also make sure both parties feel heard. Because men are fixers. Remember, they provide and protect. And it is wrong for us to suggest or expect that they won't do that just because we have a burning conversation that we want to have.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love a couple things you said there. My friends David and Yvette Uloa with Warriors and Queens are fantastic about this. Is they literally teach, just set a reintegration rule back into the house. Give 30 minutes. Go take a shower, go do those things, and then come back. And the other thing you said is the problem's solved. I'm not looking for you to fix it. I'm just looking for you to be there in a sense. That lowers the walls for a real conversation all by itself. So I really love that you just said that, Brenda. That's fantastic. Yeah. So are there let's go, with children, any tips there, because again, they're, depending on the age, of course, if it's in their teens, they may not be running to you when you get home because they're still trying to play a video game or whatever the case may be. But when they're younger, and they're just all excited to come home, mom or dad's home or whatever the case may be, I want to play. I want to, have this time because it's so important to them, and that they crave it to some extent.
I'm glad you asked that, Michael, because something I did. We integrated into that coming home. Every time when my husband would come home, I would meet him at the door with my young child when they were a toddler. We used to play the rock star game, as I called it. Daddy's coming home. And it was a big deal. When we got there, oh my God, Daddy's home. Yay, Daddy came home. And when my husband would come home, that would give my child that instant connection. And he loved getting, because remember, he's being received like a rock star. We're making a big deal that Daddy came home and alive. Remember, we're military, so every day, you don't know. So we make that big day. And once they got their hug, my child was instructed, let Daddy go to the room And they would say, Daddy, take care of yourself. I'll be here when you get done. So they had the expectation that once Daddy was okay, they would come back and play with them. So the pressure was off. There was no waiting at the room, knocking on the door. And I had already, because even as a small child, my child was capable of understanding that Daddy needs a downtime. But it wasn't just that. It was, we meet Daddy at the door. We honor him when he shows up. Now, I know some people have a problem with that, but I'm telling you, it will put peace in your home. And the other thing was, too, we had a rule. Nobody gets to disrespect Daddy, and we don't talk ugly. So much so, I drilled that into my kid. I remember one day I was mad, and I snapped at my husband. And my child said to me, I think they were like 4 or 5, you can't talk to my daddy that way. That's disrespectful. I immediately said, you're absolutely right. I apologize to you for speaking to your father that way. And then I apologized to my husband, who had that nasty little smirk that, of course, behind closed doors, we had a conversation about. But the truth is, to this day, my child at 24, and even when we got to point, people said, well, how did you do all that and still end up divorced? Because we're idiots. We didn't have clear conversations. We both were very strong personalities that were clicking against each other. And the honest truth is, I didn't practice what I preached.
Yeah. Thank you for saying that. And I think it's so important to realize that. And hey, I'm going to own it. Okay, there's times where I try to fix it. In fact, my wife came on here a minute ago. I don't need you to fix things. I just need you to listen. Quotation marks. And I know that was your thing, but it fit, And we all have our work to do, right? And I've improved. I don't do it every time. I've improved.
No, I'm not perfect. I'm telling you. But what I do, here's the thing. What I tell people, say, well, you're married. So I say, here's the thing. Principles don't change because I didn't do them. That's the thing we often forget, that a tried and true principle or foundation thing, a foundation is needed when you build a building. And I don't care what building you build, if you don't put a foundation on it, it's going to fall. So it didn't change just because Brenda Warren decided, you know what, today I'm going to build a house with no foundation. Well, guess what, baby? It may not collapse today. It may not collapse tomorrow, but eventually it's going to crumble.
Absolutely. It's a absolutely great point. So, with veterans, they put themselves generally last, right? Mission comes first. So let's talk about sacrifice, right? Because I know this is a big thing we wanted to talk about. There we go. So veterans often sacrifice their needs for the mission, like you said. How can they shift their mindset from sacrifice to prioritizing their personal and their family well-being? Let's start with personal, because that's where I think it always is going to start, right?
Well, the first thing I ask the veterans I work with is to do a reframe from sacrifice to investment. See, we're going to invest in our self-care. We're going to invest in setting boundaries, and we're going to invest in seeking support so that we can make this transition smoothly for our families and ourselves. And the reality is, some veterans will transition into a new role that is still a life and death situation. Like if you go from combat to being a neurosurgeon, for example, you still got life in your hand. But say you went from combat to being an accountant. Well, you got people's financial lives in your hand. So it's now an investment in making sure that what you are now currently doing does not hold that same level of weight, but that you make a clear distinction on what you're willing to do, why boundaries are so important. Like, will you be able to, as military, we're on call 24/7. And if you don't take a salaried position, you'll already, the salaried positions are 24 call. So then you may have to operate differently. But if you're in an hourly wage and your job shift ends at 5 o'clock, baby, that shift needs to end at 5 o'clock. Don't take it home. Because if they're not paying you at 5:01, you have no obligation to do anything for that organization.
Yeah. And I think for men, women too, I shouldn't just say men, but we do bring it home.
Absolutely.
We're still planning for the next day. We're still thinking about the next day, And so what is a couple of tips and thoughts that you have to shut it down?
This is what we used to do here at our house. It's a tip I had. I worked in a hospital. I was a hospital administrator when I got to the military, and it was life and death. But here's the thing. When I got home, every time I got to my front door, I said a prayer.
Mm.
And I thank God that I was leaving everything of the day behind me and taking nothing in there with me. So sometimes I have breaks, even like now doing podcasts. People that know me know that if I'm going to do a podcast, I'm going to have a brooch on. If y'all can see this thing, let me say,
there we go.
That's my trigger to know that I'm doing something different. That means I'm recording. Be aware. Whatever it takes for you. It could be a bracelet. It can be a statement. It can be an affirmation. It can be a prayer. It can be deep breathing. Whatever it takes for you to shift your state. Because we do a disservice to ourselves and to our families when we bring stuff into our homes that are not aligning with the values and the family dynamics that we said we wanted. We've spent most of our lives trying to do things for everything and everybody. Here's a real quick example. As a minister, when I had my child, Alex, who's now 24, going to church every Wednesday, being Bible study. I was there when the church opened, church closed before I had a child. But when I had a child, I said, I'm no longer available. People were like, you can't do that. Not only can I do it, my first ministry is my home. See, now there were many women that drug their babies out there all day, night, all weather. I'm like, God understands. I can do all that later. Somebody else can pick up the slack until my child was at an age that it was comfortable and healthy for me to now bring back that participation. God ain't moved by all this stuff we think that we need to be doing. That's a whole nother show. Anyway, the point is clear boundaries, and that same thing for veterans. Set clear boundaries and know what they are, and don't let nobody move them for you.
Yeah, I love that. Neuroencoding tip. Say that prayer or whatever that is for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Have a signal for yourself. Tap yourself on the shoulder. Celebrate again. Release those neural transmitting hormones that just change it every time before you walk in. And I know I say this a lot. Joseph McClellan III is going to be on in a few weeks. And thank you. Me too. It's celebrating our 100th episode. Use aptitude just before you walk in the door, because nothing else, especially with people outside, you're going to giggle. You're going to change your emotions and your state in a second before you walk through that door to get that amazing love when you walk through. And you'll be more accepting to it. So I just wanted to mention that really quick again. So since you're talking about intention, living with intention, we're almost out of time, so I got to hit this.
Oh, yeah.
So what is it? Emphasize for us the importance of living with intention and how that relates to everybody. But, of course, we want to circle back to veterans and their families.
When I think about when you said that, I got a little misty because I didn't live with intention for years in the way I do now. I mean, I lived with the intention of making sure I met my military commitments. But that is why I'm so adamant now about helping the people I work with, be a veteran or business owner, that they build careers or businesses that profit without sacrificing their family life. If we want to live intentionally, we have to make sure we have family meetings, have date nights with your significant other or date days, create family vacations or opportunity just to simply be in each other's presence, and do those acts of service that let them know they're important. We say we're out here, we're on these jobs, we're trying to make the most money. We say it's for our family, but then we don't include them in the process. It's important to go to a kid's play. They're not small long. Before you know it, they're in college, married, have the kids of their own. But what traditions, what memories are you creating along the way that let them know they're valuable? God knows I wish I had a do-over, because there's things I did not do that now, talking to my 24-year-old, are cringeworthy. I won't get a Mother of the Year award for how I raised my child and I was out of the military because nobody taught me the right way to do it. But at 24, we have some of the most amazing conversations that have helped me help other people, because now I understand the importance of taking time to intentionally involve your family in your career path, your business path, or whatever, so they feel part of the journey and that they're willing to make the sacrifice with you. Because if you keep them informed with open communication, they're willing to take the journey. Oftentimes, we're dragging them along instead of inviting them along.
Yeah, absolutely. And let me say this, Brenda. I mean, I know you. And even with myself, right? We can always look back in the rearview mirror.
Mm-hmm.
And how long can you drive in the rearview mirror, right? We got to get out of that, first of all, because we're going to crash into a pole. But the most important thing, look back there just so you learn, just like you said, Brenda, because if you didn't go through that and you didn't grow as a person, you wouldn't be who you are now.
Right.
And teaching them what you are now, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's a beautiful thing. We can't control our past. It's past. We can control the future. And here's the really cool thing that I love about what you just said. You're changing generationally how your family feels, looks, and connects.
Absolutely.
Which
More importantly, I'm changing how other families connect and live intentionally, because I will tell you, I cannot take back all those years my kid lost because my focus was wrong. But now at 24, we're building a stronger, more loving relationship that's going to transfer into their family lives. And also other people are being taught that it's okay to seek professional help, to look to family. And again, having those open, honest conversations that each family member gets to say what they need. If you have a wife that's constantly telling you, I don't like flowers, bring me a blow pop, why are you bringing her flowers? She already told you what she needed. Everybody doesn't love the same. If your love language is physical touch, and most men, that's high up in the top 3. I've not met a man yet that physical touch on top 3. And ladies, physical touch does not always mean intercourse. Stop running away from your husband because he wants to touch you. Thank God he does. Learn how to stoke those fires before you burn down the forest. And I'm telling you, when you burn the forest, it's going to be good.
I love it. I love it. Absolutely. So we are way past time now. Thank you. But we always do, right? Brenda, how do people reach you? How do people get in touch with you?
I am Brenda the Solutionist on all social media platforms. On my YouTube, you can find me under Brenda Solution, LinkedIn, Facebook, all the places there, or Brenda Warren.
Fantastic.
And you can find my website, brendathesolutionist.com.
Yeah, and reach out. Brenda is an amazing soul, spreads an amazing light. Anytime you're talking to Brenda, you're gonna have a good time. I'm just saying. Dropping golden nuggets and giggles. I promise you. So if we can, give us 3 tips to get veterans and their families further faster.
You gotta say that again. I missed it.
Can you give 3 tips to get veterans and their families further faster?
Further faster. Number 1, talk to each other, open honest communication. Number 2, hug each other every single day. So show some form of affection. And number 3, remember we're not fragile and we're all on one team. So act that way. We're not the enemy. We are the team. We rise together.
Love it. Absolutely love it. Brenda, thank you. As always, amazing time. Always love having you on the show. And thank you for being here. Time is the most precious resource we have as human beings. We do not get it back. So thank you for spending part of your life with me and, of course, with our audience. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, everybody, we're out of here.
Thank you for joining us on another insightful journey of Your Thoughts, Your Reality podcast with your host, Michael Cole. We hope the conversation sparked some thoughts that resonate with you. To dive deeper into empowering your thoughts and enhancing your reality, visit empowerperformancestrategies.com. Remember, your thoughts shape your reality, so make them count. Until next time, stay inspired and keep creating the reality you desire. Catch you on the next episode.